Hey friend, Roger Christofferson here again with another first listen review. This is one that I actually got a little bit early, and I've been very eagerly waiting to babble about this one. I didn't want to post something too early before the album comes out, but I'm talking about Steven Wilson and his new album called The Overview, and it's definitely another further step in his solo outputting that's once again not repeating himself. And I guess that's pretty much always been his goal, to not repeat what he's done and have a reason to put out an album, not doing the same thing over and over again, which I definitely respect as an artist. And the object of this one was to, I guess, it's two long songs. It's like a side one and a side two if you get like the vinyl version of it. Not a whole lot of artists think about that type of thing anymore, but I guess vinyl's making kind of a comeback, has been for a while now. So it only makes sense that somebody in the prog universe who has put a lot of time and effort into remixing and basically just remixing other progressive artists, and even outside of progressive, he's done quite a bit of stuff. In fact, he has worked with XTC, and he has one of the members of XTC on this. Well, he's not on this, but he contributed lyrics to one of the songs on here. So that was kind of cool that he got to incorporate that. I'm talking about Andy Partridge, who just... He worked with remixed one of their albums, I believe, and Andy wrote part of the lyrics to the first song on here, and that one's just called Objects Outlive Us All, and that one's 23 minutes long, and the second song on here is called The Overview, the title track. That one's a little over 18 minutes long, and I don't know, lyrically it's interesting. It's kind of... the idea of an astronaut being out in space and kind of looking over Earth, although some of it doesn't quite make sense to me, where he's seeing things happening on Earth. Like, I'm not sure exactly how he would do that, being that far out in outer space, but that's kind of the basic concept of it. Honestly, I've listened to this album several times through, and following the lyrics along with it, I found very difficult to do. That's mainly probably has more to do with me than anything else, but that's kind of like the basic overlook of it. I actually saw an interview here with Steven where he's talking about recording this, and he wrote the whole album in the order that it's recorded, and that's played out here for us. So it's kind of funny because when I was actually listening to the album, I was like, man, this guy... Like, musically, this sounds like somebody was just playing something and then, got distracted. Or it's kind of like you're playing something else on squirrel, and then you're onto something different. You're like, what just happened there? Because there's some abrupt changes in this that don't always go smoothly. I guess the way I would think of it as this... He says he got some reoccurring themes in this. He was talking about he had some themes pop up here and there. I honestly wasn't picking up on a whole lot of the reoccurringness coming back, other than the fact maybe the mood of the album kind of came back. Almost like another analogy. When you walk into a room and you're all eager, you walk in there and you get to that room and you're like, the heck did I come in here for? So you kind of like... start doing something different, and then maybe kind of walk back out, and then you remember, oh yeah, and then you go back into the room again, and you're like, well, I'm not really interested in doing that anymore. So, and then you start doing something different. Musically, that's kind of how it feels a little bit. I know it's kind of a weird analogy, but that's kind of that's what popped into my head. So anyway, it does start out a little different than anything else I've heard him do. And he starts, when the singing actually starts, it starts falsetto, which isn't something you would expect him to do, and it takes a while for it to build up. But I will say, once it finally builds up, it really kicks in. When it kicks in with a bass riff. I read somewhere else when the guitars kick in, it doesn't actually start kicking in at all. With guitars, it starts kicking in with bass, and it's kind of funny because Steve's really not known as a bass player. He started playing bass, I think. More is when they reformed Porcupine Tree. They didn't have a bass player on that last album, so he wrote the bass parts, and I thought he did a pretty good job, actually. Now I know he wrote this album because I saw the interview with him, where he's talking about how he wrote these with drum parts programmed in, and then he had Craig Blundell come in and record those drums. And he's not really known as a rock or even progressive drummer, as far as I know, from what he's saying. I'm not familiar with him at all, so could be wrong, but he was saying he's not really a rock drummer, and he wanted to bring in somebody that just had a different perspective on things. And boy did he, because these drum parts are really crazy, but they fit exactly the mood of the music. I actually thought what he did, along with what the bass parts were already laid down, was actually really cool. So for me, that was like my favorite part of the whole album. He also has this person come in on guitars. His name's Randy McStein. I guess he's quite a bit younger, so also somebody I'm not familiar with, but he's worked with him, I guess, on some other stuff. And his reasoning for that is that he knows what he's going to play on guitar, and he didn't want to make another album knowing what it's going to sound like. He wanted to experiment and bring in somebody else with a different perspective. And this guy actually really can play guitar very well, but the one thing I like about him, and I noticed this before I heard actually Steven say it, was the sounds of the guitar. It's, they're not normal. It's overdriven on the first one quite a bit, but a different type of, it's hard to explain. You actually have to hear. I can't even attempt to explain what the guitar sounds like, but it's overdriven in a way that's not like a distorted overdriven. It's just kind of sounds very powerful, but clean-ish, but very processed. It's a weird sound, but the experiment with sound, I guess, is what Steven really liked about this guitar player, and find the guitar sound, even though it's like a weird sound, that fits the song best. And the solos on this, there's two like really extra long solos that are really good, both performed by Randy, so I thought that was pretty cool. And there's actually some type of keyboard solo on the side two, or song two, the overview, that actually is, I thought it was guitar when I first started. I had to listen really closely to figure out if it actually really was keyboard or guitar or not. So just the fact that I had to pay attention that close. And he does bring back the not the same theme, but a theme of the bass and guitar, like kind of taking the main part of the song over in the overview as well. But the flow of this, actually, like I was explaining, is very strange. And he has been promoting this album. He does special mixes in the Atmos mix, which I have yet to ever hear an Atmos mix, because I don't know anybody that has an Atmos setup. Maybe someday I will. It's because Steven Wilson actually heard about Atmos like years ago when he was doing the Harmony Codex, and that's kind of when I first started hearing about this stuff. And he did a big promotion like that where he'd rent out rooms and have everybody listen to him in these special rooms with a special mix he'd done specifically for those rooms. He kind of did the same thing again here, except also added a visual aspect to it of some type of movie playing along with it. I honestly feel as though this would have been a lot better with the visual. It, to me, feels more like a movie soundtrack than an actual solo album. Like I said, it's my personal opinion. Love Steven Wilson. I know people are going to probably get mad at some of the things I'm saying in this review, but it's just my take on it. Probably going to listen to it again. I'll take a break from it, come back to it a little bit later, and maybe get another fresher perspective on it, knowing what it already sounds like. I do that sometimes, and sometimes I end up liking things a little bit better. Not that I dislike this. It's definitely not something you're just going to sit down and casually listen to. It's something that you got to sit down and pay attention to. And I did find myself kind of losing, my thoughts, going off somewhere else, thinking of things as I was listening to this instead of actually paying attention. So that's kind of where I a little bit of a negative thing there. was finding that it was having trouble just holding my attention. But that's, just my take on it. Like I said, we all have different tastes. I'm not trying to bust on them, but because I very much admire the artistic endeavor and stuff like this that makes me want to attempt to do things as well with my writing. I just wish there had been more of a reoccurring theme here every now and then, because it just did sound like it was just kind of meandering sometimes. But anyway, that's my quick little take on it. As always, I welcome all kinds of comments and whatever else anybody has to say about it, what they thought of it. If there's somebody else out there saw the movie, if it really went along with it. I also heard that there's going to be an orchestral version of this, and there's some extra CDs coming out. There's a version with this. It's with some extra music on it. It's called the Afterview, where it's being promoted as stuff that he didn't use, but I don't know what that means, because he says he wrote all this in order. So I guess I'd have to get that and see what that's all about before I say too much about it. But anyway, I guess that's another option you have there of buying this. So there's all that. So plenty to take in. But until next time, I ask you to like, share, and subscribe. Keep this music alive, because I definitely want to keep hearing more stuff that, Steven's going to do. It's always interesting to see what he's going to come up with. He says something about maybe possibly doing another Porcupine Tree, so I'm definitely ready to hear more stuff like that, because I thought that album was really, really good. I like Porcupine Tree quite a bit. And until then, I guess we'll see ya. So, see ya.